The tourism and hospitality industry has emerged as one of the key drivers of growth among the services sector in India. However, with the ongoing political, social and natural upheavals, it's imperative for industry leaders and policy makers to rethink their way forward. In tune with the need of the hour, the Hotel Association of India organized the 2-day South Asian Hoteliers Conclave 2016 that brought together hospitality leaders and policy makers from India and other South Asian countries to analyze and discuss the current trends in the hotel industry and frame new policies to promote safe and sustainable tourism in the region.
Inspired by Shri Modi ji's iconic initiative, HAI decided to create an industry platform for hoteliers from South Asian countries to converge and discuss how they can together preserve, protect and promote the safety and security of over 8 to 10 million tourists who annually visit South Asian countries.
We at hotel industry are the pillars and the pioneers of the tourism industry. We salute you. Prime Minister said that yes, government has no business to do business. And we have taken initiatives in that. When we were discussing that, yes, now let this hotel's part should be given to the private people because that needs a hospitality, that needs a smile. And a smile cannot be under a gunpoint. Yes, we initiated this process. And our secretary has taken a big step that yes, we'll ensure that all these hotels are in the need of and they fulfill the need of the tourism industry by going into private hands or otherwise. Let they not be the showpieces of this. So friends, it's a high time that we join hands. The barrier between the government and you, I'm trying to wash that line.
We still have a gap between the GDP and the people employed. There's a gap of almost 5%. The need, therefore, is how to plug this gap of 5% between the people, the percentage of people who are employed, and the GDP that we are able to produce through tourism. That is one area which is a matter of concern and consideration for the entire fraternity sitting here, including the government.
Hotels are the centerpiece of tourism industry. We are in a region which is prone to various disasters. I think we have very little choice but to prepare ourselves to deal with different disasters that we face. There are two types of factors. One, the factors which are under our control, which are under the control of the industry. So when it comes to, say, the factors like structural safety, the safety of the buildings, these are something which I'm sure can be taken care of. You can hire the best brains, you can hire the professionals and construct a building which is resilient to the disaster based on the area where your hotel is located. There are a set of factors which are external to you, where you have very little control, where I think it will be better for, to have some sort of engagement with the agencies dealing with those factors. It is better to have some familiarization for the external environment.
Food service is core to the hospitality industry. And to better understand the changing consumer expectations, the chairperson of APJ Surendra Park, Priya Paul, had a lively interaction with multimedia journalist and writer Veer Sanghvi, where he threw light upon the key food and beverage trends in the hospitality industry.
So this is to quote Veer Sanghvi in the brunch of 30th July. So here is my answer to chefs who ask what I think of presentations. I think too much presentation is a complete waste of time. Yes. Focus on food that tastes good, not food that looks good. But in the very next line, he says, but do what the time demands.
Yes.
Okay? So what does the time demand, and what do you think is happening right now, and what do you think that chefs need to react to?
I think we are now into the age of Instagram, and more people look at food on Instagram than in any other form. Instagram is a good way for restaurants and chefs to become famous. So I don't grudge them the need to do plates that are Instagrammable. I just personally don't like it very much. I can understand to some extent with French food. So even in France now, they're trying to do simpler plates. I do not understand it at all with Indian food. Now, if you Frenchify the presentation of Indian cuisine, if you serve everything in a plate, that's not how we eat food at home. That's not really even how we eat food when we go to restaurants. We don't really say that my wife will have the chicken korma and I will have the aloo ki sabzi. Both people have both things. But because these guys wanted to get reviews from critics who knew nothing about Indian food, wanted to indicate that they were better than Bangladeshi curry houses, and wanted to say that this is a new level of food, they started doing this plating. And I don't grudge them that. They were trying to make money, they were appealing to a market that didn't know much about quality Indian food. I mind it when Indian chefs were appealing to say you and me.
I think Indian food also has to evolve. I think in one sense, yes, I'm a great proponent, you use a little bit of ghee and you use the right ingredients and make it authentic. Yeah. But what next? What is the journey of Indian food and what do you think is happening?
I think one of the great myths about Indian food is, it's the same thing, it doesn't evolve. Actually, I can't think of a cuisine that has evolved more over the centuries than Indian food. Take the chili, which is an essential component of Indian food. It was discovered in South America, brought here by colonialists. Take, let's say, makke ki roti, which every Punjabi says his great-great-great-grandmother used to make. The British planted corn in Punjab about a century ago. It was unknown before that. Aloo was introduced by colonialists.
Tomatoes.
I mean, the list is endless. So if you go on and you think about the journey of Indian food, it is so hard to think of a cuisine anywhere in the world that has evolved as much as Indian food. And it has evolved naturally, done by our ancestors, etc., not by a chef with a canister of liquid nitrogen.
IRB presents Budget 2017 on the CNBC.
The single best opportunity that we have is the GST. When we should expect things to improve?
The conclave witnessed a power-packed panel called Open House with CEOs, where the eminent hospitality leaders shared their views and opinions on the current trends in the hotel space.
So describe the state of your business. Do you think that the boom that everybody expected 2 years back in all sections of the economy, and now we are growing at 7.6%, are you seeing better days already, or are you anticipating better days?
I think we should look at the second term of the government, where we'll actually see results. And I think taxation issues are to be dealt with, and I think we better be serious about it. And our industry has to be together in it.
Two things about hoteliers. Number one, we always complain. And the second thing is we're always optimistic. But having said that, I think long term, or in the next couple of years, I think that will change. Occupancy rates are going up. At some point, that will be reflected in increased rate as well.
Would you tell us what you are complaining about most of all and what you are optimistic about most of all? So, Priya, in the middle.
Well, I think the biggest complaint used to be taxation and the multiplicity of taxation. I think with this GST coming in, part of that is going to get sorted out.
It will be one tax now.
Hopefully. Yeah, one tax, it may be higher than we want or whatever else. I think that's the debate point that's going to happen over the next few months. I think we are concerned that is not coming on electricity, it's not coming on alcohol. And that's always a very ambiguous thing, because interstate alcohol continues to be an issue. Like if you're a wine producer in Maharashtra or Karnataka, and it's very detrimental the way the taxes work. What am I optimistic about? of course, this country and the demographic and growing the business. And there are great opportunities in all segments of the market.
India is the largest exporter of taxes as far as tourism is concerned. We export taxes because the guy who goes out goes with a lot of taxes. The single best opportunity that we have is the GST. GST comes in two slabs. That will be a slab A and a slab B. Worldwide, in 50 countries, we have given examples of where it has come at half the slab, right? And that has been the leveler. I was also quoting figures some time back and said that if we were to just to focus travel within South Asia, minus China and minus Japan is $150 billion. If we could get 10% of that in India, it's $15 billion. But if we want to focus on them, we must be level at all levels. Their average taxes are 7 to 8%. Our average taxes are 35 to 40%. Therefore, the single most important opportunity that we have as a country is the GST bill and where we get positioned onto that.
India has made it possible for India's time to come. There are people who count how many trips the Prime Minister goes on. I think they have nothing better to do. He has made India a global name. Right or wrong doesn't matter. He's made Indians outside India become proud. Now we have to grab these things and bring it all together, and I think we will. Look where we were 10 years ago. If someone said to you 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that you would have an airport in India that looks like T2 in Bombay or the one in Delhi, you would say you have to get your head checked. But we haven't. And we'll have more of this. So I am brimming with optimism.
Is our customer becoming more agile or less agile? And if she's becoming more or less agile, then what about?
I think that under 35 customer is the customer of now and of the future. And what has happened is that, due to smartphones and all the proliferation of technology, your customer actually knows more about you than you know about your business too. So I think, how we market, how we look at that customer is completely different. And of course, they're influencing the decisions in their families because they are now the young bread earners of their families.
The point is, are we going to keep up with them? Or are we going to try and say they're difficult? The choice is ours. We need to get our act together and manage our guest expectations. Because the guest expectations have a disconnect with the price because of the current economic scenario. But that doesn't mean that we can dismiss them or ignore them. They're here to stay. So, Patu, I've tried one trick about these rates because I've been embarrassed so many times. I just tell my friends, go online, get the rate, I'll give you 20% discount after that.
That's a clever one.
IRB presents Budget 2017 on the CNBC network.
Why I say they had a distinct bias against skills.
Establishing a new movement for cooperation among hospitality sectors of South Asian countries, another interactive panel looked into the opportunities and challenges of promoting skills within the hospitality industry.
If we look at India, we have a very young population, which is a great strength of our country. But at the same time, it also presents one of the biggest challenges to our Honorable Prime Minister, and who's entrusted you with this great responsibility of skilling India. And just some figures, if I've got them right, it's 400 million people need to be skilled by 2022, and that's not so far away. So that's an enormous challenge, and we've had the opportunity to speak a few times. So with that, sir, if I could ask you to maybe talk to us about what you're doing and share any insights that you think will help hoteliers in this room.
The hotel industry, half the people in this country, even the moment these people capture my speech, they said, look, he's again talking about English and he's talking about Hindi. The employability goes up by 30% the moment you speak English. But the system would not encourage it, and then we have other issues. If you speak English, French, Spanish, German, you don't teach anything to a boy for 10 years. You teach him these 5 languages. His employability would be much more than most of us here. We are actually not looking at the product which we require. And these are the things which possibly in a system, you just, Vicky, decide not to have this training for all the QPs which you have created for. Just the language as a QP and a training as a skills. He would be going far ahead. So we have missed the whole concept because we have focused on education, education and education. Anyone who becomes important has to be educated. So for 125 peon seats in Uttar Pradesh, there were 280 PhDs. And I can rattle out many more figures like this. So there is a problem.
You're chairman of the Skills Council for Disabilities, and I know Lemon Tree is done a lot of work in this area. You have over 470 people who are working in your hotel. About 15% of people at Lemon Tree have some form of disability. You have first-hand experience of this, and if you could share that with us.
I did some research and turned out that the World Health Organization has estimated that 7 to 10%, and in fact the UN says 12%, of the world is disabled in some form or the other. And at least 5% is severely disabled. So if you apply it in India, there should be 50 to 70 million people who are severely disabled. They are right at the bottom of the pyramid because they are poor and they are not able to communicate. So when we talk 400 million, Vikram, we are talking the bottom 10% of that 400 million. So I set a target for our company, and I said we'll take 100 such people. We achieved that in 2011. Then I set a target that we'll take 500 by 2016. We've achieved that, incidentally. It's not 470. Along the way, what we discovered, thank you. We discovered we needed to skill them. And I totally agree with what the Honorable Minister has said. You have to recognize only one simple thing, that educational semi-literacy or even illiteracy is not equal to functional illiteracy. Okay, you can be functionally literate, although you may be educationally illiterate.
Chinsu, you have an incredible country. Skilling is something that I'm sure we have to do, whether we're a big country or a small country. It's really something that is a part and parcel of life in any country. And I'd like you to share your insights on what Bhutan or what your country does to skill people. You can talk about hospitality or even in other industries.
Currently, we have progressed in terms of the skill development and have the Bhutan vocational qualification framework in place. And also, after doing a sector assessment of the various skills sectors, we have pretty much come out now with a TVET blueprint, which is pretty much the roadmap for going forward in terms of skill development for Bhutan. Although we have made progress, we still have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And to mention, to highlight a few which have been pointed out also in the TVET blueprint that has been presented in the country. We struggle with inadequate capacity of current training providers to keep up with our projected demands. Secondly, we also struggle with the lack of quality of training that's provided, and also struggle with low relevance to what the industry or the market requirement is. Further, we also face some challenges with weak policy being ad hoc and not organized, as well as in the institutional capacity. And I'd like to highlight a few of the opportunities that Bhutan has in terms of skill development as well for those who are interested. Due to the fact that we have inadequate capacities in Bhutan, we also present a scope or opportunity for training providers to come in and also do skilling within Bhutan. The government is very or rather open to FDI in the education sector, and we look forward to people to come in and also expand their skill development expertise within Bhutan, because there is an immense market there as well to tap, besides your ever-growing one in India.
Praveen, you're particularly relevant to us because you're working in our industry to make a difference. So my question to you is, how are you aligning industry? What are the challenges you face? What are the ups and downs, the highs and lows, and how can we, support you in that?
So there are two-pronged effects, the two-pronged strategy we are using. One is we are getting engaged with the industry now. For example, recently we did a seminar in Mumbai where we invited key industry leaders. So we did not get industry leaders, but we did get HR managers and some senior operation people from the industry. And what was encouraging was, as Vikram rightly said, we got a lot of standalone restaurant chain owners who actually walked in and became part of the discussion. And they were very open and said that we did not know about it. And we did not know what all was happening. So they started inquiring about it. And I'm happy to say that within the last 4 days, we have 6 memberships already done for our associate membership. So what we're doing is, we are formally engaging the industry to take a membership, which is an associate membership. There is a proper form. There is no fees. It's just 2,000 rupees enrollment fees. But it allows you to come on a digital platform. And the digital platform has been developed with the help of 3 IITians, in which one side will be the industry and the other side will be the vocational training partners who are training for the industry, for the qualification packs.